Hello horror hounds, welcome to my horror house. This time round I would love to talk about Clive Barker's The Lord of Illusions, based on the short story of his The Last Illusion, which appeared in, I want to say, volume 6 of the Books of Blood. And whilst the distributors at MGM understandably still want to sell his films off the back of him being the director of Hellraiser, as a writer and as a filmmaker, he has by this point expanded way beyond straightforward traditional horror into a sort of blanket genre that he would term the fantastique. And so it was with Nightbreed that I think the producers found very difficult to sell, and now with Lord of Illusions. So not so much a straightforward horror story, instead a story that concerns itself with the line between illusion and true magic, taking as its template the golden age of Hollywood and especially film noir. We follow our main character, Harry D'Amour, who is a New York detective who is given an assignment in sunny old La La Land, Los Angeles, where he finds that the surface illusion hides a bitter truth and reality. He is asked to keep an eye on world-renowned illusionist Philip Swan, in fact hired by Swan's own wife. The job has barely started when they all witness an illusion gone wrong and Swan is killed in front of a theatre full of people. But as the film posits, could death be the final illusion? I loved The Lord of Illusions when it came out, and time has not dulled it. In fact, time has been kinder to it, strangely. Now, with the passage of a few decades, this is a really intriguing 90s capsule, even though the film itself is harkening back to the cinema of Hollywood in the glamour age of the 50s. And whilst the setting for the story is nebulous, the film screams 90s at you, and some of the rough edges and some of the shonky bits from the time, I won't say they've aged well, but they've aged in a way that aids the story, which I'll try and explain. Before we're introduced to Harry D'Amour, the film starts off with some events from many years previously with cult leader, a Manson type figure, a David Koresh type figure, I guess, called Nyx, who has true magic. And there is a raid on Nyx's desert compound by a few of his ex-acolytes. And this sort of opening raid on the compound has some really glaring Tarantino vibes. This, in hindsight now, The Lord of Illusions shares its sort of mid-90s space with some very interesting sort of counterparts. So the opening, to my eye now, is quite Tarantino inflected, and then once we move into the present day of the film and D'Amour goes to Hollywood, it's very difficult to have a mystery set in sun-drenched Los Angeles and not evoke the spirit of David Lynch. And then the movie sort of slides into, for a portion, nighttime soap opera territory with the romance between D'Amour and Dorothea Swan. And even sort of that aspect of it, there's a sort of tessellation there with the work of David Lynch, particularly in Twin Peaks. Towards the very end of the movie, I think we're edging into Stuart Gordon territory and From Beyond, with sort of practical makeup effects and the sort of evolution of the human body, let's call it that, that's on display there. And those practical effects have aged really well, as really well done practical effects tend to. One of the things that makes The Lord of Illusions such a mid-90s time capsule is all the other effects that go into it. There are optical effects and there are some nascent computer-generated effects that are sort of at, I would guess, let's call them lawnmower man levels of computer-generated imagery, which don't look good to the eye, have never looked good to the eye, even though they were state of the art back then. I think the film has improved because what was state of the art and a sort of burgeoning area of movie effects now looks old and wrong and kind of shonky. And it helps the film because they stop looking like, they don't now, to anyone's eye, look like good or polished special effects. They look like film trickery, and they look fake. And for a film that is all about what is real magic and what is illusion, i.e. fake and real, there's a sort of disconnect there that makes these effects look weirdly uncanny, so in a sense makes them better. To my mind, this is the Clive Barker film that feels most like a Clive Barker book. I might be more inclined to watch it with a less critical eye because my Gen X credentials might be showing, and being transported back to the mid-90s was like taking a refreshing plunge in a deep, clear pool for me. So it might be that others with a more critical eye might find more to pick at. But it's a cracking story that clips along. We watched the director's cut, which I prefer. It's about 15 minutes longer, and it just kind of fleshes out strangely more of the sort of cult aspect of it, Nix's cult, and where they are now. It just rounds that out and makes that feel more real. As you'd expect with any good film noir, our detective is plonked right in the middle of some shit that he doesn't understand and has to catch up with really quickly. And Harry D'Amour is a template that we're really familiar with now, the sort of occult detective, I guess you'd call him. They're kind of 10 a penny now. It wasn't necessarily the most original archetype even back then, but that is fine because this is a film that sort of plays around with, as I say, Golden Age Hollywood archetypes from start to finish, just with a Clive Barker flavour, and that's enough to get me excited. The man's imagination is something that I am continually in awe of, and his creativity in all forms, the written word, the moving picture, his art, is always interesting, if not always successful, and always something to pay attention to. And for a man with such a short director's filmography, Hellraiser casts an abnormally long shadow. And I think that The Lord of Illusions has perhaps got mixed in the shuffle of that. If you haven't seen it, I hope this has intrigued you enough to check it out, and I do hope you enjoy it as much as I did.
I bid you welcome.
I welcome you to my house.
Welcome to my house.
Welcome to my home.